Welcome back, all you Fabricants and Fleshbags, to the super, not funny show, reviews. And today we're reviewing the Peripheral, episode 4. It's entitled Jackpot. It's coming to you from Amazon Prime. So, what did I think about it? And should you be watching? Before we get into the review, please get down there, hit the like button on this video, and hit subscribe. The Jackpot, episode 4, is really about learning about the nightmare future, which that's what I consider it. This really cool looking future that Flynne and has sort of been living in a robot body is really kind of a nightmare future. We learned that in this when they talk about the jackpot. The jackpot being what the future people call a confluence of bad things that were going on in their history in the future of Flynne and Burton and all of their friends and family. We see also that Flynne is having really bad side effects of her experiences with the peripheral, and we also learn that she is sort of trying to use her leverage to learn more about the future, but also to try to learn about what they're, what they can expect. Especially this line about that Alita said about her probably not going to be alive in 10 years' time. That all, of course, goes back to the jackpot, and we get to see, there's a bit of snooping around by the friend deputy, and Burton. He's really, he's kind of been the leader within the friend group, their squad, if you will. And you also have their disabled friend who gets a taste of having a whole body again when he uses the peripheral. And I also what I also really liked about this episode, we get to see more of kind of I guess the masters, who's running the show. That's Lev Zubov. He's kind of the guy that's running the peripheral, but also got Wilf sort of as his I don't want to say his lapdog. It's not quite true, but it's pretty close to maybe what they feel about it. And we see a confrontation between Lev and Charisse Nuland, and we see what the future, who's controlling things and how it really works in the future. All very, very interesting. Like, this is a super interesting episode that doesn't have all that much, if any, action. It's really more about what's the political situation, who's got power in the future, and how are they coming back to the past. And there's some weird and disturbing things. Like, I never was under the impression that Flynne and Burton were working for the quote good guys, but we really see there aren't really good guys in this future. This is just power playing. For some reason, Zubov is doing some sort of power play for some reason that is opaque to Flynne, and she really is just a tool to get what he wants, and the same way Wilf is. And we sort of get, when they're talking about the jackpot, we get to see Wilf and Alita as kids, and they are in like a bombed out, horrible looking London or whatever, and they get kidnapped. And we learn later that the jackpot really is just a confluence of a bunch of terrible things. Climate change, out of control climate change, wars, famine, and disease, and all that. Eventually leading to a depopulation of the world, but also it leaves open, like I said, a nightmare scenario in which the surviving people sort of get run. I don't want to say get run, but they get dominated, I guess you can say, by what looks to be a Russian mafia oligarchy, scientists of questionable morals, and a police state. And that's the future that they're looking forward to. But also we learn that that there's a catastrophe that's going to start in their town within 7 years, and that's what Alita was talking about. I found all of that fascinating. Like, I love good future, speculative stuff. There's a disaster happening, and then there's a semi-utopia in the future. And it was really interesting to see them play that out. I also really liked kind of the power play about who's running the show, if you will. You got people in 70 years in the past who are hacking hard, that work for Burton, and they're hacking to keep her, within the peripheral and not being locked out. When she just decides to do whatever she wants to do. Again, I said we learned more about Lev and his thing, and I think he's kind of horrible actually. Like if you really think about, he literally says he just goes and kills his doubles in the these alternate universes. He goes when there's a stub, he hires someone to go and kill his past, which is weird to me. That suggests that Lev is actually alive 70 years in the past. So what's all this future technology and everything that's going on? We already know that there's nanobots and stuff that can target, genetics. We know that there's, that she could, Nuland revives the dead guy that was working for him in the body of a robot, his personality. So what is this technology that allows Zubov to be alive in the time that Flynne is alive and still be alive 70 years later? We don't know. There's a lot, like I said, not a lot of action. This is more telling you more about what's going on, who's who, what's what. And I think it's all quite interesting, actually. Charisse Nuland continues to be a terrifying presence, but it is interesting that Zubov is actually sort of becoming more of that terrifying presence in the sense that he really kind of does see, just like Nuland, he kind of sees everyone as tools or obstacles, but not necessarily people. Like I say, he refers to Wilf as a pet when his wife is sort of like messing around with him or whatever. And it's pretty clear that is, he's an oligarch. He doesn't really see people that aren't on his level equally, which I think Burton and Flynne are going to disabuse him of, definitely. And I like that we see more of Flynne and her, kind of her way of dealing with grief and all that, sort of continuing to stay in a past memory that was good before her dad died. And see her and Burton they're trying to figure out their relationship now that he's more take charge and she's she's kind of doing the work, but he's the guy that's kind of trying to keep it together back in the real world. All really interesting stuff, and I really really enjoyed this episode. This show really kind of speaks to me as a fan of science fiction, fan of speculative fiction and cyberpunk and all that. And I continue to like the way that they take these, small town people, and they've kind of put them in a science fiction surrounding, and they fit very well. I can tell that they're going to cause problems for these future people. They think that they got some small town hicks, but they got a lot more than they bargained for, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the 4th episode. The Peripheral. What do you guys think about this episode? What do you think about what I had to say? Get down to the comment section, leave your thoughts there, and of course you can always hit me up. supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. And do me a favor, get down there, hit the like button on this video, hit subscribe and the notification bell. All that stuff helps with the algorithm so more people can see these reviews. All right, all you Fabricants and Fleshbags, thanks for joining me. Come back next week. We're going to talk about The Peripheral episode 5. Until then, I've been Mo De Pupe, resident fabricant and comic extraordinaire on all things pop culture. And I'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.